All right, today we are going deep. I mean, 60 meters deep, to be exact. We're going to unpack the absolutely incredible engineering story behind Deep Dive Dubai, the world's deepest swimming pool, and how a last-minute, jaw-dropping crisis nearly sank the entire project before a single drop of water was even in it. Okay, just imagine this for a second. You are the lead engineer. For 3 solid years, your entire team has been fighting a battle against earth and water, literally digging this massive hole in the ground to claim a huge world record. And then, right as you're getting to the finish line, you get the news. Somebody else, on the other side of the planet, just opened a pool at the exact same depth. Your record? Poof, gone. And believe it or not, that's where this story really kicks into high gear. So, to really get why this was such a huge deal, you gotta understand Dubai's whole vibe. See, setting world records isn't just a fun hobby over there. It's a core part of its global identity. So, when the Crown Prince, Sheikh Hamdan, decided he wanted a new record, it wasn't some casual suggestion. Nope, it was a message to the rest of the world. And the scale of this ambition is just staggering. With over 425 world records, Dubai holds more than any other city in the entire Middle East. We're talking the tallest building, the largest picture frame, you name it. Record breaking is literally woven into the city's DNA. So the deepest pool, it wasn't just going to be another entry in a book. It had to be a total icon. And this was about more than just being the deepest. The Crown Prince had this really specific vision, one that was deeply rooted in culture. See, long before the oil and the skyscrapers, Dubai's whole economy was built on pearl diving. So the entire building was designed to look like a giant oyster shell, a tribute to those divers who were really the original underwater explorers of the region. It had to be a record breaker and a piece of history. Now look, the team totally could have taken the easy way out and just built a 45-meter tall building above the ground, but come on, a world record deepest pool has to be built into the earth, not sitting on top of it. And that's where the real fight began, a monumental struggle against the very ground they were trying to shape. Right off the bat, the first challenge was just immense. They spent 2 months building this massive underground concrete barrier called a diaphragm wall, section by section. But only 8 meters down, boom, they hit groundwater, and it started seeping in. So for the next 2 years, as they dug out 45,000 tons of earth, pumps had to run 24/7, nonstop, just to keep the whole site from turning into a lake. That entire first phase, the digging, the pumping, the final waterproofing, took over 3 years. So after 3 years of that brutal, nonstop work, the team was finally ready to actually build the pool. They had this perfect, waterproofed, 45-meter deep shaft. They were on the home stretch. And that is when the news from Poland arrived. A new place called Deep Spot had just opened its doors near Warsaw, and its depth was, yup, you guessed it, 45 meters. In the super secretive world of high-stakes construction, the Dubai team had absolutely no idea this was even happening. Their world record, the entire point of their 3-year struggle, had just vanished into thin air. I mean, can you even imagine the feeling on that construction site? This quote just captures the shock perfectly. All of that work, all that money, and for what? To tie for first place? For a project of this magnitude, in a city like Dubai, tying is basically the same as losing. The entire project was at a complete standstill. But you don't build things like this in Dubai by just giving up. The directive from the Crown Prince was simple: make it deeper. So now the team had to figure out how to add another 15 meters to their design, pushing the new goal to a mind-blowing 60 meters deep. But going deeper wasn't just about digging more. Oh no, it introduced a terrifying new problem, all thanks to the laws of physics. It sounds completely impossible, doesn't it? How on earth can a massive concrete structure that weighs thousands of tons just pop out of the ground? Well, it all comes down to the immense, invisible force of the water pushing up from underneath it. That force is called buoyancy, and that same groundwater they'd spent 2 long years pumping out was now their biggest enemy, pushing up against the bottom of their structure with incredible pressure. The original math for 45 meters was fine. The weight of the water inside the pool would cancel it out. But at 60 meters, the upward push would be way, way stronger. Here's the easiest way to think about it, just like the engineers did. Imagine you're trying to hold an empty, sealed water bottle at the bottom of a bathtub. You can feel the water constantly trying to shove it back up to the surface, right? Now, just imagine that bottle is a 60-meter-tall concrete cylinder. The risk was very, very real that the entire structure could be heaved right out of the earth. So, how'd they solve it? With a brilliant two-part plan. First, they made the new 15-meter section much narrower. By cutting the diameter in half, they seriously reduced the surface area for that upward buoyant force to push against. Second, they used a cool technique called underrimming to drill and create these massive concrete anchors underneath the foundation, essentially bolting the entire structure deep into the bedrock. Okay, so with the new, deeper design locked in, the final sprint began. But the danger was not over, not by a long shot. The empty structure was still incredibly vulnerable to that immense upward pressure. The only thing that could permanently fight back against buoyancy was the crushing weight of the water inside the pool. They had to fill it, and they had to do it fast. And we are talking about a mind-boggling amount of water, 14 million liters. To put that in perspective, that's enough to fill 6 Olympic-sized swimming pools. Every single day the structure sat empty was another day it risked being pushed right up by the groundwater. The race was officially on. The problem was just speed. The city's water authority could only pump it in so fast. At that rate, it was going to take 3 months to fill the pool. 3 months! That was way too long. The whole project could have been ruined. So they launched this massive logistical operation, bringing in a fleet of over 100 water tankers to work around the clock with the city's supply. Even with all that, it still took a full month. And you know what? Even after the pool was finally full, the challenges just kept coming. The team had built this elaborate sunken city inside for divers to explore. But once it was all underwater, some items started to rust. Worse, other things that were supposed to be sitting on the seabed just started floating. The team actually had to go back in, drill holes in the floating objects, and add extra weight to make them sink for good. But after years of fighting, planning, and pivoting, they had finally done it. They hadn't just built a swimming pool. They had created something that the entire engineering community now considers a modern miracle. And the final result is just breathtaking. You've got a world record depth of 60 meters. Inside, divers can explore this incredible lost, sunken city. All 14 million liters of that water are kept perfectly clean by a filtration system developed with NASA technology that cycles the entire volume every 6 hours. And no matter how hot it gets in the desert outside, the water inside is always a perfect 30 degrees Celsius. So, the big question, how much did all of this cost? Well, we'll probably never know. The government has kept the final price tag a complete secret, officially calling it a priceless project. Its value isn't measured in money, but in the statement it makes to the world. Which really leaves us all with one final question. After years of battling nature, overcoming a crisis that would have stopped anyone else, and pulling off these incredible feats of engineering, this whole project makes you ask, what is the true price of a world record? Is it measured in money, in effort, or is it measured in the sheer will to do what everyone else thinks is impossible?